Hello, this is Chris Ridgway, and I will be doing another epic reading, this one of a story of my own this time, known as Sparks of the Mystical Flame. Alright, here we begin with this flashback. Alexander stood on the top of a massive mountain as he looked down at what was headed his way. His flowing long red hair was blowing with the wind as his almost cold-looking green eyes hid an inner fire that many were very familiar with. Before him was an army of phoenixes, thousands of them, each one greater than the next. This battle would not be small, it would be massive. And these rookies who were in way over their heads. It was up to Alexander to make sure that these rookies of the Wizards Guild would not fall before the Mages Guild Phoenixes. However, Alexander and Alanon were the only experienced wizards there. Begin the barrage! At that moment, many bits of lightning were fired at the Phoenixes. Magic missiles, they were called. Very powerful attacks indeed, ones that could normally easily cause an army of humans to fall. A basic spell, so it was easy to learn but difficult to master for some. These weren't mere humans, however, and it merely slowed the Phoenixes down and nothing more. Alexander shouted as a tornado formed under him and he ascended into the air. Looking on as the Phoenixes began to fly upwards, he sent gigantic lightning bolts at them and did fire them in rapid succession. He then did turn and formed a gigantic wave of water, the size of which could hit a mountain, and he floated down upon them all. The water and lightning fixed, and it mixed and electrocuted them greatly. As the Phoenixes caused the massive amount of water to melt, he had already prepared hundreds of stone arrows, encrusted with runes and enchantments that were standing up in midair around him. He fired them in rapid succession, as each one did form lightning, and the Phoenixes began to fall one by one. The lightning element was of the highest caliber, on such a level that it could fell a creature of no less than 150 tons, a creature for electric shock alone. Still, it only could do so much as he caused more and more to appear around him and launched them at the Phoenixes. As he kept this spell automatically firing from his own magic, he did pull his gigantic skull blade out. It was a great sword that was no shorter than 10 feet long, and he began slashing down upon the Phoenixes with his blade, which was encased with arcane magic. He swung and struck down Phoenix after Phoenix with his magic was still on autopilot, firing the electric-encased arrows at the enemy. There were screams as he heard humans fall. He shouted enraged as flames formed around his body, as his body did cover with the flames that could not harm himself, but harmed others. Alanon did already fire many divine spells nearby, as hundreds of Phoenixes lay fell before his staff, which had used a spell to make it as sharp as the greatest of blades. So as you see, both Alanon and Alexander were greatly valuable. Then there he was, General Irogoth. Alexander shouted as he headed for the evil Phoenix. It shouted at him, "You were foolish to come here, human Alexander! You cannot defeat us! You may have began this war when you attacked us, but we Phoenixes will end it!" Alex shouted, "You stupid scum! It is you who intended to strike us down! Do not think us foolish enough to simply wait for you to be ready to kill us, when it is we who will strike you down! This is for my comrades, my friends who you Mage Guild scum have killed!" Alexander pointed at a nearby volcano and it erupted as Alexander used magic to send the lava at the Phoenix. "I know my flames are less effective against you Phoenixes, but how will you handle lava?" The Phoenix General laughed. "Foolish human! Lava has no effect on us either!" As the Phoenix redirected the lava at the humans, Alexander quickly made the lava not hit his allies with a spell, but that was window enough for the Phoenix to dig his talons into Alexander as it tore into his skin. Alexander slashed the phoenix in retaliation, which caused it to back away. But when they collided again as the talons and sword met each other, the phoenix growled. "We can do better than you!" It growled as a gigantic amount of lava and flames formed a no less than 50-foot tall sentient lava flames that were meant to resemble a phoenix. Alexander smiled in a cocky, almost evil grin. "Go forth, Nagaroth!" Alanon shouted, "No, Alexander, don't do it! You don't know if you can control it!" A gigantic light went out of Alexander's hands as he looked up at the sky with his hands in the air, the green light flowing deeply. Alanon shouted, "No!" A creature the same size as the 50-foot-tall sentient creature appeared. It had 16 eyes and 6 arms and was humanoid in shape. It had sharp teeth and looked like if a human had no skin, but had muscles still. It growled as if a brutish creature. Alexander knew it could speak, though it never chose to. It was a creature of legend, stronger than any phoenix nor dragon. It was said it didn't know friend from foe because it had no friends. It only wanted destruction and would destroy anything in its wake. Of the thousands of spells that Alexander knew, it too knew every single one of them. It was said nothing on this earth was as strong as it was. But Alexander had vowed someday it would belong to him. It would be his summon. Today was that day. Right here and now on this battlefield! It swung its arm at him, but he held the arm in place with his bare hand. The sheer strength he had being superhuman due to this magic. Otherwise, without his magic, the gigantic hand could not have been stopped by Alexander. He used some of his arrows to harm the beast as it screamed in pain. Alexander shouted, "I am your master, and you will obey me! Now destroy the creature these phoenixes have summoned!" The creature growled at him and shouted. He sent more arrows at it and it screeched in pain. The creature had the same ability, but his were greater than the creature's. It obeyed as it swung at the sentient flame and lava combo and destroyed it in one go. It began destroying everything on the battlefield in anger. Alexander sent another bunch of arrows at it, but the creature blocked these ones. Alexander had lost control of the beast as it ran and began swinging and sending magic missiles everywhere at everyone. As the earth quaked with every footstep it took, and the world trembled before its might, Alexander stood in shock. What have I done? The beast swung and swung as humans and phoenix alike were slaughtered, and Alexander formed a tornado under him. He shouted to Alanon, "Master, could you please use your divine magic to try to hold it at bay? I will attempt to reopen the portal and send it from whence it came. If we do not stop it now, the thousands of spells he and I both know, you know what he is capable of." Alanon nodded. "Of course, it will be done." Alanon began to use his divine magic as a ray of light held the creature in place. The same spell that years later he'd used to hold Goron in place at the school. The creature growled and shrugged it right off like it was nothing. Alanon began sending magic missiles at the creature and sent many other spells its way. It delayed the creature but wouldn't for very long. Alanon was considered one of the greatest wizards in the world, but even he could not hold the creature in place. Green light surrounded Alexander. He continued chanting as he sat floating in midair with his arms and legs folded. By now, the creature of the Phoenix's armies was angry. He ran. The general ran for the creature that had been summoned, the Nagaroth, and was killed by the Nagaroth with its own element. Flames exited from the creature's mouth at the Phoenix, and it was reduced to dust with one simple spell from the massive behemoth. As the green energy formed, Alexander opened the portal and sent all the energy he had to send the beast back through and closed it. As he fell nearly unconscious, he saw that roughly only 50 rookies remained of the hundreds he'd seen earlier. Meaning hundreds had died that day on his side. He felt like a complete and utter failure as he wept deeply in regret. He'd been right about one thing, though. Not a single Phoenix survived the battlefield that day.